Yes. So come to page number 12. Question number 7. Given alongside is an enlarged diagram of a part of the root. Draw arrows on the diagram to show the movement of water passing through different parts. Now you all know, just a minute. Yes, we will come back to the question. So you have to show the transport of water in this root here, in this particular diagram, which is given on your right side. You have to show the direction of the water. Now you all know from root here, water is transported to the upward portions, right? That means to the upward portion of the stem. Downwards, there is only soil. So water will obviously be transported from roots to the upward portions, the stem, the branches, the leaves, etc. So how could you show the water movement? Right. And this diagram, if you see, this is a lateral diagram. This is not like this. This is a lateral diagram. So that means, I'll show you. This is like this is, it is shown lateral diagram. So how can you show the transport of water? That means imagine this as a root here, like this end as a root here, and this surrounding as soil. Now you have to show the transport of water. So how could be the transport possible? Like this, right? Like in the left movement, because it's a lateral diagram. It's a lateral diagram, so that we will show the left movement. That means if this is the root here, then you have to show directions like this. You have to put arrow, one arrow. Like in the box, you can see in the cells, you have to put one arrow in left direction. Do you understood?
No, ma'am.
And no, just I'll just show you in this diagram. Can you see this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, can you see the arrows? This is the root here, and the arrows is towards the cells, right? That means on your left hand
Yes.
side, you have to draw one arrow each in the each cell given. In each of the cell, you have to draw one arrow like this on the left hand side, right? Do you all got the point? Everyone, can you see?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you have to draw.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you put one arrow in one cell on your left hand side. That means the arrow should be pointed towards left, not right, because it's from root hair to root cells, and root cells is on the left side. So you have to put one arrow in the left hand side. Now, question number 8. So this question does not have any description. So you have to only show the direction, or you can write there in the space given. You can also write that the direction will be sideways, left hand side. The direction of the water molecules will be to the left of the cells. You can write this. Then come to question number 8. What is the structure of a root hair considered suitable for absorbing water from the soil? Why is the structure of the root hair considered suitable for absorbing water from the soil? Now, why is it considered as a absorbing portion for the water to be collected from the soil? Now, you have to write here, a number of root hairs provide a large surface area. Root hair contains cell sap, which is of higher concentration. Cell wall is freely permeable, but cell membrane is semi-permeable. So this much, if you can write it right now, but it will take too much of time, right? So what will I do? I will just 8, 9, 10, 11. These 4 questions, I'll prepare the answers and upload it on Moodle today. Is that okay for you? Can you write it from there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes.
that will be easy.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that will be easy. I'll prepare the answers by afternoon. I'll just upload those answers in Moodle. You can write those answers from there. That is 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. I'll upload these 4 questions. Then I think we have done the true or false and fill in the blanks. We have done it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Short answer questions also I have uploaded. So I'll be uploading this one also by afternoon. You can write. Now come to page number 14. We'll start the next chapter because if we discuss these questions, it will take too much time. So just a minute. Let us discuss these questions first, right? I'll just discuss it. Then I'll send you the answers in Moodle. Come to page number 12 again. Let's discuss so that you can know from where the answer came from, right? So the question number 8, why is the structure of a root hair considered suitable for absorbing water from the soil? The answer is a number of root hairs provide a large surface area. How it provided large surface area? Because you all know they look like thread-like structures. They are very small. They are very minute. So basically, if we see these minute things, that these minute projections, like if we see in our body, cilia is also present. They are also projections. Then in mitochondria, there are finger-like projections known as cristae. All these projections, that means the tiny projections, they help in the absorption of water because of their large surface area. Like as I told you before also, we see cotton in our homes. If we take large amount of cotton, it will soak more water. Why? Because it has large surface area, right? That means the area which is covered by that particular amount of cotton, right? If we take small amount, it will only absorb some amount of water. Similarly, when these root hairs, they are very large in number. They are present very large in number in the roots. So because of the large number and because of their surface area, large surface area and the capacity to absorb water, they are suitable for absorbing water from the soil. This is the answer for this question. A number of root hairs provide a large surface area. Root hair contains cell sap, which is of higher concentration. Cell wall is freely permeable, but cell membrane is semi-permeable. Now this you don't have to write, only a number of root hairs provide large surface area. Root hair contains cell sap, which is of high concentration. This you have to write as an answer. I'll be uploading it on Moodle, don't worry. We are just discussing it. Then question number 9, briefly explain how transpiration helps in the upward conduction of water in plants. So this answer is, as a result of transpiration, a section force is created in the xylem vessel. This causes the water to be pulled up. We have gone through the topic of transpiration. You all know when transpiration occurs. What is transpiration? It is the loss of water vapors, loss of water molecules in the form of vapors from the leaf surface, right? That is transpiration. So when these water molecules, when they pass out or when they blew out from that surface area or that particular leaf surface, what happens? A force is created in the root. That means a force is created when these water blew out outwards. Like if we pull something, like if I am pulling my hand, so it will create a force in my whole hand, right? It will not create a force only in this area, but my whole hand will be pulled towards myself or towards yourself, wherever I am pulling it. So my whole hand will experience a pressure, right? So similarly, these root hair also, they experience a pressure when water vapors are thrown out or blew out from the leaf surface. So this is the answer. As a result of transpiration, a suction force is created in the xylem vessel. Where this force is created? In the xylem vessels. This causes the water to be pulled up. That means the remaining water in the soil, this force causes the remaining water to be pulled up towards other parts of the plant, right? Now come to question number 10. How does temperature, light intensity and wind affect transpiration? Now we have known that high temperature means high transpiration. High temperature, intensity of light and speed of wind increases the rate of transpiration. This is the answer for this question. Now why this you don't have to write, but you have to know this why this happens. Like high temperature, like if the Celsius is 40 degree and 50 degree Celsius in the surrounding, it will obviously increase transpiration because the water is releasing more water because of the heat. Similarly, as our body do, when the heat is more, our body starts sweating. It throws water in the form of sweat. So similarly, these plants also, when in high temperature, they remove their water or they throw out their water, the excess water which is stored inside. So that's why high temperature, high intensity of light and speed of wind also. Because when we see, when these transpirated water, when these water vapors come at the top of the leaf and are about to be blown out, what happens when sometimes wind blows, fast wind blows, heavy wind blows, and because of this fast wind, the water molecules move fastly. Like they do not take much time because of the pressure of the wind, because of the intensity of the wind, the water molecules pass very fastly to the surrounding, right? They just remove themselves from the top of that particular leaf surface. So that's why temperature, light intensity, and wind affect transpiration. Now, the last question, 11th question. The setup shown alongside was kept in sunlight for an hour. It was observed that drops of water appeared on the inside surface of the polythene bag. Name the process which is being demonstrated. What is the process? The vapors are touching this, the plant is covered with a polythene bag and the vapors are just evaporated out and they are just settling on this polythene bag. Now, which is the process? You all know. Can you answer?
Transpiration.
Yes. Very good, Niyati. It's transpiration. So this process is obviously transpiration where water is removed out from the plant body. B question, come to B. Why was the pot with its soil left uncovered by the polythene bag? Now, why the pot is not covered? Because from where does this water molecules pass out? From the leaves, right? They come to the leaves and from there they blew out or are thrown out by the plant. So because we have nothing to do with the root portion or soil or the pot portion. The pot has soil inside it. So if we cover pot, then nothing will happen actually because the plants are actually throwing this water molecules from the surface of leaf. So that's why to show or to or to know or to examine that where the water is thrown out, to see that or to examine that, we are putting a polythene bag over the leaves because only the leaves throw water out. From nothing else will participate in this process but the leaves surface से ही पानी निकलेगा बाहर. That's why we put a polythene bag so that we can understand from where this water is going out. Like from leaves it is going out, so obviously on the leaf surface or on the polythene surface, inside surface, the water will get collected. That's why we are putting this polythene on the leaf surface and not on the pot surface, right? Why was the pot left in sunlight? See question. Why was the pot left in sunlight? Why? Because transpiration increases when sunlight is more, right? So if is here the sunlight is more, the pot was kept here in the sunlight because to increase transpiration. Transpiration is also necessary for plants. That's why to increase the rate of transpiration, this pot was left in the sunlight. Now last one, D. Suppose that the pot in this experiment was placed inside a dark room instead of placing it in sunlight for some time. What difference would be noticed? So if it was placed in a dark room rather than keeping in sunlight, what difference would have happened? You all know transpiration only occurs in a certain level when it's dark, right? We know that transpiration occurs mostly in sunlight in daytime, not in nighttime. Nighttime, it is very less because we do not get sunlight at night. So that's why if we keep it in a dark room, that means in a dark room where sunlight is not entering, what will happen? Only few drops of water will get transpired. That also because the stomata remains open for some time. Then it closes. When stomata will close, what will happen? Transpiration will obviously stop. It will not happen. So that's why If we keep it in a dark room, what will happen? Only few drops of water is seen due to decrease in rate of transpiration. So this is the discussion for this question so that you may know from where this answer came from. Now, I hope you all understood this much. Have you all understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes. Again, I'm telling you, I'll upload the answers in Moodle by afternoon. You can get the answers from there. So now let us move towards our next chapter, which is on page number 14. Page number 14, chapter number 2. This also comes under unit 2, life processes. We have chapter number 2 in our unit 2. Sorry, unit, yes, unit 2. So the first chapter was unit 1. The first chapter, that was transport in plants, that was covering the unit 1. Now this reproduction in plants is a next unit. Unit 2, life processes. Chapter name is reproduction in plants. Now reproduction. What do you mean by reproduction? First, we have to know this term. Why? Because we are going to study reproduction in plants. So we have to know what is reproduction first. In general, what is reproduction? So can anyone define reproduction in a simple manner? If no, then I'll define it. So reproduction is basically a process through which the parent produces their offsprings. Right? Very easy definition. Offspring means the baby, the child. Or in case of plants, we can say the baby plant or the bud. Right? So this is reproduction where the parents produce their offsprings through the process of reproduction. And what is the process of reproduction? Where the male and female gametes fuse together and they form the zygote, which turns into a baby further, right? That's in case of humans. Zygote, after zygote, it forms baby. But in case of plants, what happens? The seeds germinate. There are many types of reproduction in plants. Like there are sexual also, there are asexual reproduction also. So we will get to know all these types of reproduction in the coming topics. Now let us read this paragraph. Reproduction. All living organisms produce individuals of their own kind for the survival of their species. This is called reproduction. Now, this is another definition, another simple definition for reproduction, that all species or all individuals produce their own kind. That means, own kind means gorillas produce their babies. Those look like gorillas only. They will not look like human beings. They will not look like dogs. They will look like gorilla. Dogs produce similar to their kind. That means those who look like them. Dogs will not look like a human baby, right? So, own kind means there are some individuals who produce their own kind. That means similar to themselves. So, that process, and for what? For their survival, right? For the survival of the whole species from generation to generation, they produce their offsprings. So, this process is called reproduction. Reproduction means producing young ones of the same kind. Again, the meaning is same, but the words used are different. Reproduction means producing young ones of the same kind. Just a minute. Yes. Now come to modes of reproduction. We will just have a look at it. They are broadly grouped into two types, asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, only one parent is involved and there is no formation or fusion of the male and female sex cells, or we can say gametes. In sexual reproduction, two parents are involved and there is formation and fusion of the male and female gametes. Now we all know that asexual means, sexual means, from the word itself, we can get the answer that sexual means where the male and female gametes fuse together and form the latter. Latter means the offspring, the zygote, or in case of plants, the seed, they will germinate, right? So when there is the mixing of two gametes, there is fusion of two gametes, that process is known as sexual reproduction. You all know what is a male gamete, what is a female gamete, right? In human beings, male gametes are sperms. Females have eggs inside the ovary. Now in plants also, we have the flower we have. In flower chapter, you must have read, you have the flower chapter in 7th standard, I guess. So there you must have heard about the male and female reproductive organs of the plants, right? So we will discuss all those later. So first you have to know what is sexual and what is asexual reproduction. So in sexual, there is fusion of male and female gametes, whereas in asexual reproduction, what happens? The new one is formed, but without any fusion of gametes. That means only one parent is involved. No fusion of gametes is taking place in asexual reproduction. Do you get the point?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. If you have any doubt, stop me at that point. Ask me, ma'am, I have this doubt. Let us clear this. I'll definitely clear your doubt and then we'll move forward. If you have any doubt, please ask me. Don't feel shy. I am here to help you, right? So don't feel shy. If any doubt comes in your mind, just ask me at that point itself. Just stop me. I'll unmute yourself and just ask me. Now, you have known the difference between asexual and sexual reproduction. Asexual means there is no fusion of gametes. Only one parent is involved. Whereas in sexual, there is fusion of gametes. Two parents are involved, their gametes fuse together and form the later. Okay? Now, asexual reproduction in plants. Lower organisms like bacteria and plants like algae, fungi reproduce asexually by fission, fragmentation, or by the formation of spores. In some higher plants, the vegetative parts of the plant like a root, stem, or leaf also help in producing new plants. This is called vegetative propagation. Now we have many types, or we can say many kinds are there for asexual reproduction. It can be done through fission, that means binary fission, fragmentation, spore formation, and vegetative propagation. Now what are they? What is binary fission? And what happens in binary fission? We'll just know in the next paragraph. Let us read that. Lower organisms like bacteria reproduce asexually by method of binary fission. Binary means two and fission means splitting. In this method, the nucleus splits or divides into two and then cell splits across the middle, forming two small identical cells called the daughter cells. Now, what happens in binary fission? Binary means two, fission means the cutting or the splitting, right? That means what happens in this process? A particular organism, let us take the example of bacteria. This binary fission is adapted by lower organisms. Lower organisms means you have a kingdom of animals, right? Like first you have lower organisms, bacteria, virus, fungi, everything. Then the big ones. Then at last we get the very big ones. So you have a kingdom for animals, right? So the lower organisms includes bacteria and small kind of algae, like some kinds of algae comes under lower organisms. So here we are taking an example of bacteria where binary fission is happening. So what is binary fission? In this type of fission or in this type of process, what happens? This bacteria cell, that means every organism has a cell in its body. Now this bacteria cell has a nucleus in it, right? Nucleus is obviously there in a cell. So this nucleus in the cell divides into two, right? Or they are split into two. This type of process or this process where the bacteria's nucleus is split into two, it is known as binary fission. Here the outcome is what? Only two daughter cells are produced with one nuclei each. If the nuclei is split, it does not mean that only the one cell will get the nucleus and one will not get. It is not like that. We are splitting the nucleus. So obviously one nucleus will go to the one cell, one to the other cell. So both the cells will be having particular shape of nucleus. So you can see in the diagram, there is the mature cell ready to divide. Now what happens when the cell is ready to divide? The nucleus starts elongating. Just a minute. Is my voice not clear?
I'm clear.
It's clear?
Ma'am, clear.
Okay, so Aftab Hussain is saying that my voice is not clear. Aftab, please check your network connection. It may be regarding your network connection just because your network is not good. That's why it could be like that. So yes, so everyone else can hear me. So please check your network connection. Now let us come to the topic, come back to the topic. You can see the diagram. A mature cell is ready to divide. Now you see nucleus elongates. When this cell is ready to divide itself, the nucleus starts elongating. Why? Because nucleus is a small structure. It has to elongate or it has to stretch itself to become larger so that both the cells after dividing, both the cells get equal amount of nucleus. Right? So this cell in the nucleus is elongating. Then what is happening? The nucleus divides, transverse constriction appears. That means you can see two lines in the middle in the second diagram. That means on the same diagram, the second step, you can see there is a wall formation between those two nucleus. The nucleus is elongating, it divides, and a transverse wall is formed between, right? A wall-like structure is forming in between. In the third also, a wall is formed through the middle. You can see a whole wall has formed, right? In the second one, wall is forming. By third time, what happens? The whole wall has formed. Now in fourth, this wall gets divided. This wall forms, and in the fourth step, what happens? This wall divides those two cells, or we can say divides those nucleus into two, and the final result is two daughter cells are produced. Two daughter cells are produced. So this process where this particular nucleus of the cell gets divided to form or gets splitted to form two daughter cells is known as binary fission. This basically happens in lower organisms like bacteria. Please underline this line. Lower organisms like bacteria. You can give an example for asexual reproduction by binary fission. If you are asked, give an example for asexual reproduction by binary fission, you have to write the example bacteria, and you can give this description like how it happens. First, there is a cell, nucleus elongates, then a transverse wall is formed. Again, the third step, the whole wall is formed. Then the fourth step, we can see the nucleus divided. That means there are two daughter cells at the last. In some organisms like chlorella and chlamydomonas, one cell divides into four daughter cells. This process is called multiple fission. That means there are some organisms, those some organisms are chlorella and chlamydomonas. Please underline that. Chlorella and chlamydomonas. These examples are very important. In exam, you will be asked at least 1 to 2 examples of each processes. Like in binary fission, budding, there are examples given in each of the processes. So please underline these examples, chlorella, chlamydomonas. What happens here? One cell divides into four daughter cells. Now, I don't know, you must have gone through meiosis and mitosis or not. Have you all heard these terms, meiosis and mitosis?
No,
No?
no,
Okay.
No,
ma'am.
ma'am.
So these terms you will be coming very close to these terms. You will be knowing these terms in your higher classes. That means we can say in 9th or 10th. 9th, you may be knowing this because these are the terms regarding the divisions of the cell. Mitosis is also a division. Meiosis is also a division of the cell. So there are some processes there. So in those topics, we can learn about how many daughter cells are formed from a particular type of division. That means we see in mitosis, from one particular parent, only two daughter cells are formed. That means we say haploid cells. Those cells, that two daughter cells, are known as haploid cells. This is not in your course. This is, I'm telling you so that you can get a reference, you can understand it better, right? You don't have to write this in exam. So mitosis, we get two daughter cells, one from one parent. And what happens in meiosis? We get 4 daughter cells from the parents, from the offsprings formed. That means when mitosis is forming 2 daughter cells, those 2 daughter cells again divides and forms 2 each. That means this cell is forming 2 daughter cells. This one is also forming 2 daughter cells. So at last we are getting 4 daughter cells. So we say haploid cells there. 4 daughter cells means haploid cells. So the same cases here also with chlorella and chlamydomonas. What is happening? One cell is dividing. Here only one cell is dividing into 4. That means this fission is multiple fission. If something multiple happens, that means, if something we are getting, if we are getting more than 2 or 3, it is known as multiple fission, right? If we are getting 1, it is known as single, right? If we are getting 2, it is known as binary. For 3, it is known as triple. For 4, we can say it is multiple fission. For 5 also multiple fission and goes on. So in some organisms like chlorella and chlamydomonas, one cell divides into 4 cells. The process is multiple fission. Underline that. Now, is this topic clear for you? Binary fission. What is binary fission?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so binary fission is nothing. Binary means 2, fission means splitting. That means splitting of a parent cell into 2 daughter cells. That is binary fission. That's it, nothing else. Now you have to give examples. Please underline these examples. Bacteria and in some organisms like chlorella and chlamydomonas, multiple fission takes place where the one parent cell forms 4 daughter cells. That's it. Now next topic is budding. This method is common in yeast. Here the parent cell produces an outgrowth called a bud. The bud grows and then gets detached along with its daughter nuclei from the parent body to lead an independent life. And you can see the stages of budding in yeast. You all know yeast. You must be having yeast in your homes also that looks like small, tiny circle-like bits, very small. They are very tiny. So if we examine a yeast, we can see budding in that yeast. You can give the example of yeast. Underline yeast. This method is common in yeast. So example is yeast. What happens here? The parent cell produces an outgrowth. An outgrowth is produced. You can see the diagram of a yeast cell. You can see the whole diagram: glycogen, fat vacuole, cytoplasm, vacuole, nucleus, cell wall. This is the labeling of the diagram. Now you see bud forming. This particular cell is forming a bud-like structure, a bulb-like structure we can say, or a bud-like structure. An elongation is formed, right? So here this cell produces an outgrowth called a bud. So that's why here a bud is produced. That's why this process is known as budding, right? Because a bud is formed, this process is known as budding. The bud grows and then gets detached. What happens? You can see in the process, you can see the arrow when in first one, a bud is forming. Then the second one, the nucleus is dividing. That means obviously the nucleus will have to divide. Why? Because the cell should also get some nucleus to live. If the whole nucleus is transported out to the other cell, the cell will eventually die. So the nucleus divides first, right? So here the nucleus is dividing, and in the third stage, what is happening? Daughter yeast is formed. A daughter cell is forming. So what happens in the later stages? This bud which is formed in this particular yeast cell, this get detached. Detached means this get away or this get apart from this particular yeast cell. That means the bud formed and the yeast cell now are two separate individuals. They are not attached together now, right? After the formation of bud, the nucleus divides. After the division of nucleus, they are formed into daughter yeast or daughter yeast cells. Now both these cells, the daughter cell and the yeast cell, parent cell, divides, and now they are known as different individuals, right? They are not attached with each other. That's what it is written here. It gets detached from the parent body to lead an independent life. Now this yeast cell formed, or this yeast bud, we can say, this daughter yeast cell formed. Again, what happens? It grows and it divides its nucleus. Again, this process continues, right? So like in this form, like in this way, they are produced. We are studying reproduction, right? So in this way, they produce their young ones, right? Is this much clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so the time is over. Let us stop here. We will meet in the next class. We will discuss all these topics, remaining topics in the next class. I'll be uploading the previous chapters, 4 question answers in Moodle by afternoon. I'm repeating this. I'll upload it by afternoon. Have a look. Write it in your textbooks, not in notebooks. The spaces are given right there. And the long answer question you have to write in the notebooks. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, fine.